Today's an exciting day. Today we are going to talk about Auburn priming theory. This is going from blonde to auburn. We're going to test out 3 different theories. We're going to deposit, and then we are going to remove to see which theory is going to do best in the long term. So when we're doing color correction, we are literally handling and managing chaos. That is how you have to think of color corrections. Color corrections are a game of chess. When your client asks for something, you need to be able to give them the rundown on what they're looking at immediately and what they're looking at long term if they want to change it. So taking that into account, when we go from blonde to red, we're going to use 3 different theories here. We've got our gold priming theory, where we're going to fill this with gold, color it brown, tone it red. With our auburn priming theory, we are going to use a warm gold. We're going to color with a brown and then an auburn, and then we're going to put a red toner on it. With the red theory, which is what I'm calling what you're taught in cosmetology school, we are just immediately going to fill this at level. It's going to be a red copper, then we're going to go over it with a brown, and then we're going to go over it with the red toner as well. We're going to compare what they look like when we're done, and then we're also going to remove and compare what the auburn looks like when we have removed it with powder lightener on these swatches. Back, so let's take a look at these. We've got our gold, we've got our auburn priming, and then we've got our red priming. Whoa, wow. All right, so I'm going to take this to the bowl and come back. Okay, so we are back, and there are very distinctive differences. In the red theory that you learn in school, this is what we have. It is definitely a red-orange, red copper fill right there. For our auburn priming theory, you see a very soft peach. This can be varying colors depending on how much of the concentrates you put into our formulas. And then we've got our gold priming theory. Very pretty, very nice, good shimmer, good warmth. And so now we're going in with our second color. So it is a warm neutral. We're bringing it down. This one, we're just keeping it with just a regular warm neutral, and that's pretty much what we're going to stick with. There's no set program in school. We don't have a hair color program. You are not taught, really, you're not taught any of this. So you're pretty much winging it, and that's why there's so many hairdressers that have problems with color. So like I said, we're just going to start throwing brown on this one so that she doesn't look like flaming red, because surely that is not what our client wants right now. These ones we're going to go in with our warm neutral and a little bit more concentrate. The Auburn priming concentrate and then the gold priming concentrate. So let's start with our gold. Alright, so we are going to let this process. I'll take a quick look in about 15 minutes, and if I want an additional 15 minutes, then I will do so. Swatches are different than mannequin heads of full hair. They have their own set of issues, but yeah, so we're going to let this process. I'm going to check on it, rinse it, and we'll be back with the final results on this second coloring. Let's have a look and see how these are turning out. So we're going to start with the Red Theory. Starting to look a lot more normal. Looks good. Auburn priming. Oh, that's pretty. Very, very pretty. And then gold priming, looking good. All right, so we are going to wash, come back and apply our third formula for priming down before applying our red toner straight across the board. All right, things are getting very interesting. Let's start with Red Theory. Since there is no set procedure with what you learn in school, which is bare minimum, judging by how this looks, we're not going to add any more brown. The brown is perfect. The level is perfect. Now we're going to just apply our red toner on this one and let it process for the full 30. Now we're going to take a look at our Auburn priming formula. It's looking really pretty. We're going to do our final round of coloring down with Auburn priming and Gold Theory priming that I created way back in the day. This would have been like 1997. But I didn't start the whole patent process and really nailing it down until about 2009. Auburn priming actually came after Gold Theory. You cannot skip the process. Color correction theory is based on a process. It tells you what you need to do, the order in which you need to do it. You cannot cheat the process. You have to make sure that the depth is in there, that the color is in there. Otherwise, it's not going to last, and your client is going to come in to see you with hair that looks like crap, okay? We are here to make sure that this hair looks good. We need to get a very stable foundation. So we're going to go in with our third color to finalize this color, and then we're going to go over it with the toner. So in our auburn hair, it's looking pretty. It's looking gorgeous. I decided for my final color, I was going to go in with a cool neutral, and then I added some red to this final color for this auburn priming. For gold, I mean, look at how different that looks. Is that just not amazing? Look at that. Oh, yes, it's like the perfect brunette. So which is especially amazing because it looked so ugly in the beginning, right? So you have to trust the process. You have to trust my process, okay? So on this one, I'm gonna go in just with another warm neutral. I'm not gonna do any more additive. Let's check these out. All right, so starting with Red Theory, I'm going to check this Auburn. Looks good so far. Let's look at interesting. Very, very interesting. So this is Auburn Priming Theory. Looking very similar. All right, and then of course Gold Theory. This will just be a regular brunette, and so I'm going to wash these and see if I even am going to put a red toner on. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see when we wash. We'll decide. I'm so excited. I hope you're excited too. All right, we're getting towards the finale. This is getting very interesting. Let's look at this Red Theory one first. This one makes me feel so uncomfortable. It is pretty, it's all over the place. It doesn't have much shine, much shimmer. After the initial bit of red in it, when we put brown over it and then did literally a full-blown red gloss, it doesn't, there's no shimmer, it's dull. This is just not, it's also bleeding a lot in the shampoo bowl with the suds. It's just very, not the best, that's for sure. I definitely don't like it. The Auburn priming, super intriguing. The irony is that there's actually more brown in this one than in this one, if you can possibly believe that. That's just, it's actually shocking. Look at how pretty this is. It's sheer. Don't ask me how. I mean, if this just tells you the difference in priming, it's huge. It's massive. Red Theory, what they teach you in school, contributing pigment, hard pass, no thank you. My Auburn priming theory is just, it's amazing. Look at that. Oh, wow. Wow. It's so wonderful in the shampoo bowl as well, because when I wash this, it also is not spitting out a bunch of color. This is a very stabilized base. It looks so gorgeous. I haven't even put a top red toner on it. I mean, this is pretty mind-blowing. The only amount of red I put in was just the little bit, the little bitty bit in that last neutral base. So we're gonna go ahead and put the red toner on this, even though I don't have to. I mean, obviously, she looks amazing. And then, of course, our Gold Theory, doing what it's supposed to do, being an amazing brunette, a really nice neutral golden brunette. Oh, you look amazing. This one I am going to go over for sure with obviously our red toner. So pure red will go over this. I'm going to go ahead and put red over this one. This one is done. She's already had her red toner. This is as good as Red Theory is going to get. So let's mix up and do this. Our swatches are done processing, so let's take a quick peek. Immediately I can tell that the Gold Theory brunette swatch is darker, but let's see how they compare. Surely they've got to be better than this over here. So I shall wash them and I'll be back for the reveal. I'm just going to go ahead and jump right in on our Auburn Priming Theory. Absolutely amazing color. Oh my gosh, I can't even right now. It's so beautiful, so reflective. Has a sheer quality to it, but it's a nice deep color. It's beautiful. I mean, that is gorgeous. You just can't even beat that. We're going to hop right in on Gold Priming Theory with a red toner, predominantly brunette, hint of Auburn. I'm going to get a light in on that so that you can see it. Red is notoriously hard to pick up anyway. So we see a huge difference between a completely brunette base with a red toner versus a base that starts off brown as we were coloring down, and then adding a hint of red to it and then a red toner. We see a very, very big divergence. Also, the difference between gold and a warm gold. When I use the terms warm gold, I mean a mixture of gold and an orange. And also, let's mention that this is a very cool colored red, so that warmth used for the priming did not affect the red color. Obviously, this is Red Theory that we learn in school. As you can tell, it has a very matte, dull look to it, and like I said, it's very acted very strange during the coloring process. So let's get the light in on there. There we go. Now you can see it looks a bit more like a, I don't really want to say dark cherry, but ish. So that's a brown base, red toner. Now I should say that the red I was using wasn't just a normal red, it actually was a double red. And this is all it produced on an entirely brunette base. And our, oh my gosh, say no more. I mean, stop it. You're so beautiful. I can't even stand it. Oh my gosh, she's gorgeous. She's just beautiful. We can see a very obvious big difference between the two of these. All right. So let's get in on, see, it's dull. There's just not a lot of reflection. This also is not going to be a very stable base because keep in mind this only has one neutral gloss on it. So it's quickly going to get rid of, you know, the color that makes it look not totally insane. If we look at these two together, I mean, that pretty much speaks for itself. Surprising, isn't it? I know I'm surprised. I'm very pleasantly surprised. That is really shocking. That is just so shocking, considering our Auburn priming has a very stable, lots of neutral base in it. Pretty wild. All right. Our next test is an exciting one. So our next test is going to be removal. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix up a fairly strong lightener just to create some pretty insane results that are going to be very obvious. And we're going to see which one of these lightens up with the least amount of red in it. Again, we're keeping our clients in mind. Not that we ever want to take someone from blonde to red and then attempt to get that red out. But this is color corrections, and if you can do it, great. If not, then bypass. So let's test removal and see which one does better. All right, I've mixed up my lightener. I mixed up something pretty abrasive, just to make the results quite a bit more obvious. We're not going to get too far into this. I think everyone knows that I'm a huge fan of Malibu C, and ordinarily we would go through with the process of color removing in the most gentle way possible before going to powder lightener. But in this swatch test, I think it would kind of take some of the fun out of that. So we are just going to go in with our lightener just like this. We are at the big reveal, so we are going to start with Red Theory first. A nice vibrant pink. Ah, there it is. Auburn priming, nicely done. And oh, gold priming. Of course, I absolutely expect that. Okay, so let me wash these and I will come back and get a closer look. Wow, the difference is astounding. Look at that. Auburn priming for the win. That's what I created it for. So not only do you get this absolutely beautiful red, but it's a red that can lift out. That's impressive. Very impressive. To get it that light using Auburn priming theory. That's fantastic. Alright, now let's look at gold theory. As we saw, there really wasn't much red in here. It was mostly brunette with like a hint of a red, making it look a bit like a dark cherry. But then the lift was pretty phenomenal. And you can tell the tonal difference a little bit between the two. Although I gotta say, I mean, it's actually pretty, almost identical. It's seriously impressive. And then we have our red theory, which I wasn't impressed with the red at all. And then look at that. That is the difference of a lot of money if you didn't want the red in there anymore. Pretty amazing. All right, so there we go. Now we know that in the real world, if I were doing this on a client, I would have started with my Malibu C right away. I would have used my CPR, my Undo Goo shampoo, and the color disruptor, and I would have gone through that as many times as I possibly could before going into the powder lightening stages. And then you have to make the choice between global lightener or a global foil. There's a very big difference. I also wrote a book about that, the choices you have to make during a color correction. Of course, this comes down to hair health. It comes down to client budget, most importantly, and it comes down to stylist time. These are the main factors that determine color corrections. So read the books, Global Foil, Global Lightener, also the Auburn Priming book, and the Gold Priming book. Red Theory, that's just a term I made for what they teach you in school, which obviously we know is not conducive to real life experience. So perhaps one day we will get them to put it, my color theory, in the book. Until then, you can get it from me.